right now. We're going to wait a few minutes to let people come in, and I got to set up some link stuff here. Where's the link?
On our way to Hurricane Michael. We officially know this. That's what she said, Hurricane.
This is tough to do when the truck's moving. Yeah. Just a few minutes, guys. We're gonna let people get in here while I change descriptions and tag our sponsors in the video post. Trying to type while the truck's bouncing around. Oh man, internet just went to crap. Not popping up.
Just have to change it in the office and just text them.
Oh, there it is. I don't know why it's not popping up. Just a few seconds here, guys. Ignore the ticker then. I'm going to, it says Hurricane Florence. Yeah, I'm going to take the ticker off. Alright, now we're ready. Alright, guys. Happy Tuesday afternoon. We're going to talk about the small chance for hail in Texas today and Hurricane Michael. Derek and I are on the road driving to Panama City, Florida. And we still got, how long we got left still?
So it's a 15-hour drive. We've done 2.5 of it, so we've got 13 hours, 12 and a half.
Yeah, so...
12 hours exactly. We'll be there at midnight. So, 12 hours.
Can I X out of Facebook?
Yeah. And close everything. YouTube.
Yeah, I closed YouTube and closed the Hail Trace thing. Okay, so I'm going to get our screen up here. Here we go. So let's talk about possibility for hail today. Nope, that's on Hurricane Florence. So generally, SPC's got it pretty good today. 5% chance of hail in the San Antonio and Austin area as this line approaches, but I'm going to bump that down to 2%. As you can see here, the storms have already congealed into a line, so the main threat here is going to be damaging winds and probably low-end tornado threat. There was a bunch of tornadoes in the Oklahoma City area today, and the tornado watch is probably expected, if they haven't issued it already. They'll probably issue another tornado watch up here, but there's not going to be any hail with that activity, so we're going to focus down here in Texas. I'll bring up the HRRR model so we can show you what that's thinking, how this is going to pan out here. It has it down pretty good right now. It already has it in a line for the 15Z or 10 a.m. run. So if we push it forward, you see it shows a couple of potentially isolated cells forming out in front of the line, and I think that's where the SPC got their idea for 5% hail risk. So if that does come to fruition, you could see before the line quickly envelops those cells that form out ahead of it, possibly up to some $half size hail. I wouldn't be surprised if there was one or two or maybe even three quarter to $half reports in south central Texas area and central Texas up through south of the DFW. So the DFW's hail chances today are over, I would say. I wouldn't expect anything there. Everything is going to be from about here, points south. I don't think it'll get over to Houston, so I think Austin might be your last hope. You'd have to hope that something forms in front of that line within the next hour or so. Other than that, the hail chances around the rest of the country are low to none, and for the rest of the week, it doesn't look like there's really going to be any hail risks. So we're going to shift our focus over to Hurricane Michael. This was the 10 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. It is currently a Category 2 hurricane. Let me go back here. Category 2 hurricane, maximum winds at 110 miles per hour. We do expect the hurricane to strengthen over the next 24 hours before it makes landfall around this time tomorrow. So we do expect it to strengthen to a Category 3, maybe a Category 4, but the thinking is more towards a Category 3. There's pretty good consensus, mild consensus on this hurricane. So let's bring up the back to the cone of uncertainty that they have. Let's see if that will open. There we go. So zoom it in. There we go. Okay. So about 7 a.m. Wednesday, it's off the coast, and we're thinking a landfall some point between noon and 2 p.m. On tomorrow afternoon. And it's still a hurricane after it makes landfall, so a Category 1 in the Tallahassee area. And this thing will still be a tropical storm all the way through the southeastern states. So expect damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour, wind gusts through Georgia and the South Carolina coast, and possibly even up through Wilmington again, North Carolina, as this thing rockets off the coast. It's going to rocket off the coast. It'll be in the northern Atlantic by Saturday. So this thing is going to accelerate a lot and just blast off the coast and out of our lives forever after Thursday, once it gets off the coast on Friday. So let's take a look at the models. This is the 12Z GFS, is the American model. It's done pretty good. It's been hanging with the Euro the entire time.
It would be the winner, actually.
Yeah, because the Euro deviated to the west yesterday in one of the runs, and then it came back to the GFS. So if this actually happens, it's showing landfall in Panama City, Florida. This would be, so that's right there after landfall. So that's 7 p.m. Well, it would be 8 p.m. local time for Eastern time. It's in, it kind of slowed it down a little bit. So it's showing a 5 p.m. landfall. The GFS is, so it slowed it down a little bit. You see it accelerates as it blasts off. Like, it goes so fast. It's out of there after it makes landfall. But it's been holding strong on this track for several days now, just going into Panama City. And if we go over to the European model, let's see, as we hit traffic in the DFW area. So can you zoom into regional on the, oh, you cannot. Okay. So we'll stick with this. So here's the European model. I should probably have this open. I'm going to open and see if there's comments. Nope. Let's see here. All right, so John's answering comments. Thanks, John. So here's the European model. This shows landfall also around 0Z. So yeah, we'll definitely be pulling an all-nighter. So maybe take back that landfall time a little bit. We were thinking around noon to 2 or 3 o'clock, but
probably 2 to 7.
Yeah, so sometime between 2 and 7 p.m. landfall. But it also shows the consistency with both models, because this also has it making landfall right in Panama City. And if we look at the model spread from all the global and tropical models, it's still pretty consistent. The strong majority, there's only 2 outliers here, but the strong majority are bullseyeing Panama City, Florida as the eye-wall land spot for Hurricane Michael. All of them are saying a Category 3 at this point, but it's possible that it could strengthen to a low-end 4 before that happens. It's also possible that it could weaken, so I'm going to go with averages and say it'll be about a middle-of-the-road Category 3 major hurricane impacting landfall.
20, 125.
Yeah, so winds up to 125.
Sustained gusts up to 140.
Yeah, gusts up to 140. That's enough to rip roofs right off.
You'll have wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour in Tallahassee.
There you go. Heard it from Derek himself, saying wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour in Tallahassee, Florida. Excuse me. Still got questions coming in.
So you're talking Destin, Panama City, Apalachicola will all have hurricane force winds. Destin probably gets wind gusts to 80, 85, 90 miles an hour. Panama City will have wind gusts close to 130. Apalachicola will have wind gusts close to 110, 100 to 110 miles an hour. Tallahassee, Florida would have wind gusts up around 100, maybe 105 miles an hour. And then as you head into Georgia, so you're looking at like Valdosta. I don't know if I say those right, Valdosta, you could see wind gusts in that 70 to 80 mile an hour range, so still hurricane force wind gusts all the way up to Valdosta, Georgia.
Yep.
And then you're talking about as it moves across Georgia, you're talking about. So I'll run back through those again real quick, because I think some people couldn't hear me. So we're just kind of going through cities along the track and what to expect damage-wise for those locations. So we're going to go from the western Florida Panhandle along the coast first. We'll talk about each city. So Pensacola, Florida would be the first city, I think. conditions probably fairly minimal there as far as bad weather. What I would expect to see in Pensacola, Florida, would be probably max wind gusts around 50 to probably 50 miles an hour is probably going to be your max wind
Out
gust.
of the northeast.
Yeah, it'll be out of the north, so it'll be blowing offshore. So no storm surge. Destin, Florida, the same thing. You're going to have winds offshore most of the time. So very minimal effects as far as storm surge is concerned. Winds will be higher in Destin. They'll be closer to the center. So expect max wind gusts in that 90 to maybe 100, 110 miles an hour in Destin. They're going to be on the west side of the center. Now, if this thing wobbles to the west, Destin could take a direct hit, so in which case they would have much higher winds. Right now, anticipating the actual landfall to be Panama City. So if it landfalls at Panama City or Panama City Beach, expect max wind gusts around 130 miles an hour, and then 110 to 120 actually inland. So as you come into Panama City, expect that. As you get down towards Apalachicola, they're still going to have an onshore flow, so we'll have a significant storm surge in Apalachicola. But expect wind speeds to be a little bit lower because they're a little further from the center, but still fairly high. So I would expect max wind gusts in Apalachicola to be around 110 miles an hour. The way it looks right now, the center is probably going to travel right up and over the top of Tallahassee, Florida. If that happens, this is a very large city that would be impacted with wind gusts up to 100 to 105 miles an hour. And then the storm system will continue to rocket off to the northeast. So it's going to hit areas like Valdosta, Georgia, with winds probably in the 70 to 80 mile an hour range. So we're still talking about hurricane force winds all the way in southern Georgia. And then as it continues to move off to the east and the northeast, across southern and central Georgia into South Carolina, expect to see winds actually pick up along the coast. So we're talking areas like Savannah, maybe even Jacksonville. I wouldn't be shocked if Jacksonville, Florida saw some wind gusts up around 50 miles an hour from this, especially on the coast. Savannah, Georgia, wouldn't be shocked if you saw winds 60 to 70 miles an hour up along the coast. And then near the center, we should have another belt of higher wind gusts that'll actually occur. And then that should come across central South Carolina, so near Columbia. Expect, let's say Columbia, Georgia on Thursday, or Columbia, South Carolina on Thursday. We would look at potential for wind gusts near 60 to 70 miles an hour in Columbia, and then also up and down the coast. So as this storm system is actually sucking air into it, it's going to have strong winds up along the coast, which basically means, excuse me, it basically means so areas Wilmington, North Carolina, you could see winds in the 60 mile an hour range. Myrtle Beach, you could see winds of 60 miles an hour. Charleston, South Carolina, you could see winds 60 to 65 miles an hour. So there's going to be some high winds along the coast and then along the center track, the dead point of where everything travels through. So those are going to be the areas to watch. And then as it ejects offshore, winds will actually increase. It's actually going to strengthen again, but it'll be an extratropical low. It's going to move off the coast and basically miss everything. So the takeaway is, you're going to have a really nice belt across Florida into southern Georgia of hurricane force winds with some pretty big populated areas that will be impacted. This is going to be a significant hurricane with some pretty significant wind damage. Because the storm is moving so fast, high-end tropical storm force wind gusts will occur all the way up through South Carolina into North Carolina as well. So, that'll actually split into two belts. One will be along the coast, and the second will be along the center of the hurricane, of what'll be then Tropical Storm Michael. So that's kind of the long and the basic trend that we see with Michael. So it's going to be pretty significant. It's going to be pretty bad. Panama City right now looks like it's going to take the worst of it. But again, little wobbles. If this thing moves 20 miles to the west, Panama City would be on the backside, which would mean, yeah, they're going to have some high winds, but nothing like they're going to get if they get center line with this hurricane.
Yeah, you heard it from the man himself.
Each city breakdown.
Yeah, there you go. So that's what we're expecting for the hurricane. Again, if you're coming in late, low end hail risk today for south central and central Texas as this line of storms moves northeastward. Could see a couple cells pop up out in front of it and you can get some marginally severe hail, possibly up to $1 to $1.5 size, but not expecting much to come of that. This line is actually getting to San Antonio now, so as soon as that passes through, you're done for the day. So Austin, you've got probably another hour or so until you're done for the day, and then the next major city in line would be College Station, but by then Houston is out of the risk, because once this line gets fully developed and starts rocketing east, there will be basically no hail chance unless you get some sort of little inlet to form and get a little updraft rotation in there. But yeah, so that's going to do it for today's forecast. We will be back tomorrow. John will be doing the forecast, and we will be doing live coverage for Hurricane Michael from Panama City, Florida, or if it wobbles 20 or 30 miles each direction, wherever the eye is going to be, that's where we're going to be at to get you guys the best coverage. Again, thank you to the C3 group. They're doing great stuff out there, and the Merlin Law Group is one of our newer sponsors. Thank you guys, both of you guys. We wouldn't be able to do these videos and do this storm chasing without your support and help. So thank you so much.
Contractors and homeowners. Awesome.
They do so much out there for the contractors and homeowners across the country. So